Croeso Channel Black Fluid. And before we start our story, as always, I want to say thank you to all my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon. And my top patrons are Omar, Spiderling, Smuto, Tiger Cub, Ara Amaterasu, Alan Mayer, Greylock, Lark Huskerton, Gracious Yevon, Andy Peng, Aaron Fox, Bastian, Baker, Brian Hall, Gobus Visser, Dissonance, Exec, Grizz, Harvest Mouse Productions, Evan King, Kartek, and Matt Kenya. So thanks to them for supporting the channel. And here's a quick chain year update. As I record this, just received a new update. So I'm not going to do that short video to round off the build. I was planning next chain year video will be in April, and we'll be picking up where we left off and going through, and there'll be a few more with the new build. Okay, now on to our story. Blackout by M C Morrado. I don't know how long I've been holding out here. Moving to Kansas is arguably the best thing I've done 6 years ago. At the time of writing, it is currently July of 2028. Last year, the entire world entered a nuclear winter early in the year. The government stopped reporting the death toll, let alone any census data. According to them, the problem goes away if they simply don't report it. That's a story for another time. I already have plenty of supplies I can hold out on my own. It all started during a cold and dark day when the temperatures were below freezing and snow kept coming down. Crop failures were common and store shelves were largely barren. You can't grow crops if it's always winter 24 hours a day non-stop for over a year. Most places around suburban Kansas where I lived had begun shutting their doors quickly as the brutal recession and food shortage was setting in. Places like restaurants, pet stores, car dealerships, movie theatres, even entire shopping malls were all shutting their doors for good overnight. I myself am a maned wolf, a Chrysocyon brachyurus, a tall and lanky canine. Oftentimes I'm asked if I play basketball, or mistaken for a giant fox-deer hybrid. I'm a rare species in America. The power grid in a lot of areas is failing. Plenty of places go days or even weeks without electricity before repairs are done, after layers of bureaucracy, and people are freezing to death. As a result, many places are shut down with everything left inside. Tons of places close down overnight without any warning beforehand. But I can tell the signs of places going to shut down soon. When the store shelves run empty and people are looting for supplies, the place isn't going to stay open for very long. Lately I've had to rely on canned food and boxes full of Twinkies. Expiration dates are only a minor suggestion for canned food. By trade I'm a mechanic who maintains electrical systems and gas turbines. The current grid where I am in Kansas, outside of any big cities, has a natural gas power plant running at full capacity due to the demand applied by electric heaters. Being a tradesman has its perks. A lot of modern-day Americans are a bit too snobby to work in the trades, while their jobs are being outsourced to AI to replace sedentary cubicle jobs. Personally, I never went to college, but I'm making enough to have my own house. I'm not the type of person who buys a lot of stuff, so most of the store closures around here don't affect me on a personal level. At this point, I stopped watching the news. It's useless anyway. Just pure propaganda people are dumb enough to keep believing. A lot of stuff that's actually important is not mentioned at all on the news anymore. Like, those things simply do not exist. Being an electrician myself means I get a lot of calls to repair poorly maintained infrastructure. I'm in high demand these days, meaning a better chance of paying bills this month. On one winter night, I was walking home after work about 10 p.m. My footsteps crunched in the ankle-deep snow one at a time, putting one foot in front of the other. An unmarked white van without license plates drove slowly along the icy roads. Two figures wearing all black sat in the front seats. A gut instinct made me run between two suburban houses to hide behind a fence. I watched a van stop in front of a house across the street from where I hid. Two burly figures wearing all black got out of the van without a single word spoken between them. These silent figures wore rubber black trench coats, ski masks to cover their heads, stained grey pants, black leather gloves, black steel-toed work boots, gas masks on their face, and wide-brimmed black fedoras on their heads. They were dressed in ways that I couldn't even tell what species they were. The figures moved almost alien by nature. Their movements unnatural. Like something trying to mimic a person without trying to let themselves be identified by their body language. Pulling out my phone to record this, I realised I'd only have 1 or 2 bars of 5G at most. Recording on my phone's camera app to store it locally is my best option. And so I did. Those cloaked figures picked the locks of the house's front door for walking inside. From the distance I heard the sound of the person unfortunate enough to be at home shouting and wasn't going down without a fight. Screams and shouts were able to be heard from across the street. I watched a man get dragged out of the house after being pepper sprayed and beaten unconscious. The figures handcuffed the unconscious man and both tossed him in the back of the white van, along with many of the victims who were unconscious or probably dead. I saved the video on my phone seconds after I finished recording. Afterwards I sprinted straight home and locked every door and window in my house. Safe to say I didn't get much sleep that night. Why were they even out there cruising the streets of small-town Kansas so late at night? A few days would come and go, and I'd become increasingly paranoid at work. More missing posters appear left and right throughout my town. My next-door neighbour went missing not too long after I first saw the cloaked figures. Why are they here at all? They're nocturnal kidnappers. The closest big city southeast of this place is Topeka. I live less than 50 miles away from the Nebraska state line. What is their purpose? A couple of friends of mine also report seeing them at night after setting up a night vision camera outside of their front porches. I'm not telling exactly where I lived, or else there's a chance those freaks might kidnap me as well for speaking out. When reporting what I saw to the police, one officer said, "Sorry, son, got too much on our hands. You're the only one who told us about these strange men wearing gas masks, trench coats and fedoras." In fact, local dispatchers say reports and sightings make up a fifth of all calls to 911 here, making my eyes widen in pure dread. I stood there looking at the police, wondering how they haven't caught them yet. What? They're kidnapping people. People! They're not stealing some grandma's pet poodle or swiping Amazon packages. Do you guys hear yourselves right now? I sputtered, staring at the middle-aged German shepherd. "I'll try and hear. There's strange happenings in our own departments and precincts in town. Incident reports and body cam footage are suddenly deleted by God knows who for only God knows why." He huffed, not disagreeing with what I said. Then looked down the short tabby cat taking notes on the clipboard. "The feds keep stealing our hard drives for evidence. Can't even do a proper investigation without interference from the feds or our digital evidence suddenly being scrubbed off the face of the earth," he added. "You're serious?" I almost gasped, not liking where this was going. "Here's my card. Officer Rayford Jones reporting for duty." The middle-aged canine introduced himself, handed me his business card. I felt embarrassed asking this. "Sorry if this inconveniences you, but can you two do a stakeout in my neighbourhood? 3 abductions happened there. I'd rather not be number 4. The 2 officers discussed something they'd rather keep private for the sake of the investigation, before turning to face me again. "It's a small town. Not much to do out here anyway. We'll let you know when we're parked outside." Officer Jones kindly accepted the offer before waving me goodbye. Later that day, I was driving to a hardware store in my truck. In the corner of my eye, I saw men in black carefully taking down missing persons posters placed not too long ago during my drive to the parking lot. My trip to the hardware store consisted of spending a lot of cash on steel door frames for both the front door and back door. One thing I learned from a guy I knew who got swatted a couple of times: invest in steel door frames. Get longer than normal screws for installing the door frames, and buy windowless steel doors. Take intruders a lot longer to break in or stop them altogether. Paying a couple of contractors to install it within the day I buy isn't a problem in small-town Kansas. After paying for the doors and other necessary precautions for contractors to install, I began doing my own research. For the names listed on the police website before they mysteriously disappeared. I began digging into their social media history. All social media profiles were erased like they never existed to begin with. All online accounts associated with those who got kidnapped by those cloaked figures were completely erased, even accounts made on forums back in the 1990s. Searching up the names of my neighbours who had been disappeared anywhere from 2 days to 3 years ago turned up absolutely nothing. No public records, no social media, their online presence 100% gone without any logical explanation. Videos of those figures across multiple states in unmarked white vans without license plates appeared across several states, where they kept being nuked off the web, and witnesses are constantly re-uploading these close encounters. These figures never say a word, nor do they react to being shot in the worst Chicago neighborhoods. The innocent people abducted were not only taken, they were legally erased from existence. Even stranger was the news on TV, pretending this whole nightmare doesn't exist. Searching through the sightings still somehow available on the most obscure corners of internet forums reveals they've been first sighted in January 2025. At least the first sightings able to be documented anyway. They never speak. They all come in white vans without plates on them. Same outfits, same height, all have the same tools at their disposal. Who the hell are they? The police can't or won't help anyone, one post reads in plain text. The Blackout squad all have CB radios inside their vans. These monsters are listening on police frequencies. Whenever they strike, there's always distraction, the post replied in the same thread. One name everyone seems to call these unknown gas mask wearing figures is the Blackout squad. Officer Jones and another deputy decided to park an unmarked police car in front of my house, even while the contractors installed those new steel doors. I hadn't been in this much danger since when my mother first moved to America back in 1998. I was only 5 years old when she moved the two of us from Brazil to New York. The Bronx at night is a very violent place during my childhood, where I always heard gunshots in alleyways. Here I am again at 35, trying to hide. Most of the entire state of Kansas is empty. Most of everyone here is either frozen or starved to death, disappeared somehow or some way, and the government is pretending everything is fine. Nobody is coming to help us. The local police are somewhat powerless against forces beyond their understanding and pay grade, but it doesn't mean they aren't trying. One can only begin to imagine how empty the world has gotten, let alone Kansas. Officer Jones and a random deputy did stakeouts in front of my house for 2 whole weeks. During those 2 weeks, there were no sightings of those figures or their vans in my part of the neighbourhood specifically. When going out on long drives around Topeka and plenty of other surrounding areas throughout the state, nothing. There were buildings and cities, yet were largely abandoned. These days, you often go more than 48 hours without talking to another person. Not even the streetlights in those towns came on at night anymore. Week by week, I noticed a slow decline in my small town's population. Deaths outnumbering births by over 10 to 1. Most police officers almost never clock out of their shifts because the precinct and buildings have enough heat to stay warm enough. If violence in the Blackout squad won't get you, hypothermia will. Mind you, I am an animal with fur. Day by day, streetlights in most parts of northern Kansas stopped coming on at night, except for the light poles illuminating the highway. Lights on billboards were turned off. Entire sections of the state, entire towns were completely dark at night. Only buildings that confirmed to have people in them have the lights on still. Eventually I could take a road trip around the state and not see anyone. Some abandoned vehicles were pushed into ditches by snowplow trucks, with the occupants inside who had frozen to death on the highways. Over half my town eventually became dark at night, looking like a blackout to someone who didn't know. The Blackout squad became a number one problem for Officer Jones once nude bodies started being discovered. They were naked. My brother's a forensics guy does autopsies. These victims had their organs stolen, clear as day. Frozen bodies that recently ceased have also disappeared. We don't know why they're going after anyone, regardless of they're living or not. So far, I've only discovered 3 gutted bodies. Otherwise, everyone else taken by the Blackout squad is never seen or heard from ever again, Officer Jones told me on day 15 of his stakeout. I stood there talking to the middle-aged German shepherd in my driveway. Yeah, why are the lights being turned off in most places around here? I thought out loud, looking over my shoulder in paranoia. You won't leave the lights on your house when you leave, would you? People are dying out here, boy. We're just following orders to turn off the power in the homes of those who froze. Almost all of our calls today are welfare checks. We're doing everything we can because the feds refuse to help us in any way. Officer Jones sadly confessed a morbid truth, watching the streetlights of my neighbourhood power off one final time. Power grid is strained right now. We're trying to reduce the grid's load to get all the electric heaters we need working. Let's be more cautious while driving at night. A deputy warned me before I walked and inside my house tonight. In a lot of areas it truly feels like I'm the last man on earth. Is there a reason why I've hardly seen any dead bodies in the first place? Why does the Blackout squad want them to begin with? They disappeared, never to be seen again. Those figures still out there collecting frozen bodies, too distracted by their twisted version of clean-up than being fixated on me. Nobody knows who they are, what they do, or even how many of them there are. Officer Jones estimated there are only 300 people left alive in the entire town, including himself, while just over 2,000 people used to call it home. The local police generally avoid any confrontation with the Blackout squad carrying away the bodies of those who had frozen to death, whose cause of death had nothing to do with the mysterious figures. I bought myself a 9mm pistol and a small LED flashlight to put on it. Those things wearing gas masks do not react to being attacked. They are consistent and relentless to achieve their objectives. They don't even flinch upon getting shot. One woman in Kentucky reported shooting one in the head and didn't react. It stumbled a little, but quickly continues its constant monotone march forward. Pepper spray against them won't do any good. Blackout squad vans are becoming a more common sight, where they're carrying away bodies to keep the dead out of sight and out of mind. The true death toll caused by this current nuclear winter will forever be unknown. Data across various parts of the country are inconsistent. Statistics no longer being published by the government, and the news is saying there are no casualties. I remember watching the show on TV when I was younger. It reminds me of the quote, "There's no war in Ba Sing Se." The federal government is outright denying the existence of a nuclear winter from the very beginning. The government also says the economy is doing great with record GDP growth, as they refuse to publish any official data at all. Meanwhile, stores are closing left and right, and housing prices have crashed by over half. It's much worse than the 2008 Great Recession, right in plain sight. All immigrant visas stopped being processed in January 2025 for reasons I don't quite remember. There's been practically zero immigration for 3 consecutive years. I already noticed a slow and natural population decline over a year before the nuclear winter started. This was around the time census numbers stopped being published. For extra money to hold me over on groceries, I donate plasma to help pay the sky-high electric bill. Even during the toughest of times, we're all being price gouged during the end of the world. This is offset by record deflation not seen since the 1930s, adjusting everything accordingly. It all balances out in the end. On the bright side, I can now buy gas for less than $2 a gallon and pay $20 if I really splurge on going out to get Chinese takeout. My normal paycheck has been the same for years. I've gone from struggling to straight-up balling since this never-ending winter began. My single biggest expense is the electric bill. The place that bought the debt for my mortgage went out of business during the end of the world. Officer Jones helped me do some paperwork to make sure the house is fully mine. I don't pay a mortgage anymore. In order to pay my electric bill, I've stopped paying for any kind of insurance. Eventually, July 2028 came. I was one of the last people left in town. Everyone else left alive, though not many, were forced to evacuate and head south to Texas, along with thousands of other local governments doing the same by evacuating small towns and rural areas on their own without any federal help. Chances of survival were greater in large cities, were easier to maintain and make sure the buildings had electricity and hot water. I was the only resident in my town who stayed behind. The police precincts here shut down along with everything else shutting their doors for good. Officer Jones stood inside my house with me. We each had our pistols drawn, waiting for those things out there. Just me and one middle-aged German shepherd. I'm on duty right now. The only reason I'm still here is because I made a promise making sure those freaks don't get you. The Midwest is currently being evacuated and moved civilians to warmer parts of the country, like southeastern US and mostly Florida. 100,000 civilians have been evacuated daily, to agreement between governors. Feds aren't helping us. The states had to do something themselves. Officer Jones told me something I didn't know until now. I'd rather freeze to death than have to live in Florida. Hell no, I protested. I want to live anywhere near Disney World or the hurricane capital of the country. Why not? It's warmer down south, the policeman asked with one canine ear perked up. Well, first, I have a house of my own without a mortgage to pay. Second, Florida is too expensive for any millennial. Third, I don't like dealing with a bunch of old people. Florida's where all the boomers go. The whole state's a giant retirement home. I vented a little, having more reasons why I hate Florida. Well, you don't hate me. I'm 54 and starting to go grey in some areas. Officer Jones replied with a smug look on his face. The German shepherd well aware I don't have any valid arguments. Oh, it's just you and me left in this town, I said, turning the safety off my pistol. We stood there in silence, hearing those damn vans slowly creeping around every street with the headlights off. Good. Nobody around to complain and get me a suspension for doing the right thing, Officer Jones agreed, running his own pistol as we stood there, waiting inside my home's living room. We watched two unmarked white vans come to a slow, quiet stop in front of my house. 4 identical figures wearing those signature black outfits and gas masks got out. They were silent creatures, equally unfeeling and constant. I was confused, seeing they weren't trying to break down my new front door or back door. That was until I heard my bedroom window shatter. Officer Jones stood at the end of the hallway, holding his pistol in both paws. "Kansas State Police! Come out with your hands up!" he barked, watching one member of the Blackout squad tiptoe to my bedroom in a cartoonish fashion, holding a crowbar in one gloved hand. The gas mask-wearing figure ignored what was being shouted at it. The policeman fired shots into the masked figure, who felt no pain. One bullet after another, the black trench coat slowly became soaked in the figure's own blood. It stumbled backwards and Officer Jones shot out one of its eyes, causing it to wheeze in subdued pain through its gas mask. The tinted left lens cracked like a broken window, giving a small view inside one gas mask. We were speechless. Officer Jones was baffled how one person, or at least we think is supposed to look like one, can do much more damage than would otherwise kill any real person. The fact it can survive being shot in the face and keep going like nothing happened was surreal. Its wide-brimmed fedora fell onto the ground as it stumbled after getting shot in the face a second time. Officer Jones managed to take down one of those things after mag dumping into its chest, aiming for the heart and lungs. He crouched over the body to investigate. "Careful," I cautiously warned, providing him cover fire. The policeman slowly took off the damaged gas mask and blood-soaked black ski mask to reveal a truly sickening sight. Under that mask is a skinless body where scar tissue had grown over to replace a lack of skin, ears, or a nose. We couldn't even tell what species it's supposed to be. Well, definitely not human. Its skull shape indicates it's supposed to be a member of the Kennedy family. However, seeing a canine mouth full of human teeth made Officer Jones's face run metaphorically pale. "What are those things?" I shuddered, hearing another window get broken by another one of them entering. "I'm not friendly, I can say that," Officer Jones whispered, quietly reloading his pistol. 2 of those masked figures entered my house at once, while the last one watched the whole thing from the front yard. Officer Jones emptied his pistol's magazine into one of them, aimed for the head and chest, and to reload once, ran out of ammo by the time I dropped dead. I was unlucky enough to only have one extra mag beside the one in my pistol. The third one was more skilled in hand-to-hand fighting, not reacting to being shot in the slightest. These things can overpower us physically with their natural strength for their size. I had to empty 2 whole magazines to the third one at point-blank range for it to collapse onto the ground at last. Officer Jones and I put our guns away, to realizing we ran out of ammo, taking 3 members of the Blackout squad out. My head turned to see the 4th one had vanished from the front yard, after previously standing still like a statue of most of this entire ordeal. We turned our heads to hear something carefully climbing through an already broken window, glass shards cracking into their boots. The 4th figure charged at Officer Jones, holding a dagger, pinning the officer before impaling the German shepherd's paw to the wall. Only the dagger's handle stuck to the policeman's bleeding paw. "Who are you, sick bastards?" Officer Jones coughed, staring after the mute menace. I grabbed a chair to defend myself, hitting the masked creature with it before the thing had a chance to slit the middle-aged dog's throat, using a spare dagger pulled out from one trenchcoat pocket. Officer Jones was strangled unconscious and kicked in the ribs violently. Despite me being a 6'5" maned wolf, I didn't stand a chance physically against it. The struggle ended with me bleeding out against the wall, a dagger impaled through my paw and lodged deep into the stud under the drywall. All that stuck out from my paw was the dagger's handle, a methodical approach used on Officer Jones. I somehow managed to keep breathing despite my neck feeling bruised and stab wounds in the abdomen. "Who are you?" I panted, slumped over, eyes looking at the thing who crouched down. It stared as its lifeless movement ceased. All I could hear was breathing behind the gas mask. "We are many. We are legion. We are everywhere. Everything you post online, we see it. For every smart device inside your home, we gain more eyes. Every social media app with an algorithm gives us eyes without seeing. Byte by byte of metadata seen by us. Civilians broadcast themselves, have publicly available information without needing a warrant. Every post tracks location, time it was created, and more you can never hope to understand." It wheezed in a raspy androgynous voice, resonating with the gas mask's voice diaphragm. Without warning, the masked figure used both gloved hands to break my neck by twisting my head backwards with a loud snap. Everything after that was blurry. The next I remembered after that was waking up in a hospital bed. Doctors were surprised how I even survived. They said it's internally decapitated. A rare injury by itself, where survival is extremely low. Officer Jones saved us by radioing in Officer Down, giving my address to a dispatcher over the radio. The Kansas State Police were asking me questions left and right for the next few hours after my house became a crime scene. Officer Jones backed up my claim of self-defense, on top of using his own standard-issue pistol to mag dump 2 of those things. I stayed silent on all of these questions. But now I'm writing this on the laptop of my hospital bed, recovering. Doctors here are great, but the medical bills aren't. The state police were left scratching their heads after Officer Jones gave his full side of the story when no detail was spared. That German shepherd has a near photographic memory. "Dealing with the Blackout squad requires us not to let the feds know we're investigating this on our own, or else we'll be sabotaged again. One thing I don't understand. We can't identify the bodies of those masked culprits. No ID, no dental records, no fingerprints of any kind. No DNA evidence, nothing. We cannot determine what species they're supposed to be either," a detective announced to other police officers in the room. I was unfortunate to hear this from my hospital bed. "We found something unusual inside 2 of their vans parked outside the crime scene." Officer Jones coughed, getting back on his feet with a bandaged paw. "The vans have police radios exactly like ours. Get spy notes the whole time, too." The detective panicked after reading papers handed to him from forensics. All I have left to do now is apply for a job at the local power plant owned by Petro Cherokee. It's one of the few places around here still hiring. The place I used to work for shut down as the town got evacuated overnight, and I'm the only one who stayed. I have a feeling this is only the beginning.